Well, good morning, everyone. We're taking you live to Beijing, where Secretary of State Antony Blinken is speaking following his meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping. Let's listen.
At a critical moment, and I could not be prouder of how they represent our country. Over the past 2.5 years, the United States has taken a series of purposeful, strategic steps, both at home and abroad, and are standing around the world. We've made historic investments in our infrastructure, technology, industrial capacity, competitiveness. We've deepened our engagement and alignment with allies and partners around the world in ways that would have been unimaginable a few years ago. That's the backdrop for the relationship between the United States and the People's Republic of China, one of the most consequential in the world. Both the United States and China have an obligation to manage this relationship responsibly. Doing so serves the best interests of the United States, of China, indeed, of the world. We are clear-eyed about the challenges posed by the PRC. The United States will advance a vision for the future that we share with so many others, a free, open, stable, and prosperous world, with countries upholding and updating the rules-based order that has, for years, safeguarded peace and security globally. To shape that future, we start with diplomacy, including with China. I came to Beijing to strengthen high-level channels of communication, to make clear our positions and intentions in areas of disagreement, and to explore areas where we might work together when our interests align on shared transnational challenges, and we did all of that. Here in Beijing, I had an important conversation with President Xi Jinping, and I had candid, substantive, and constructive discussions with my counterparts, Director Wang Yi and State Councilor Qin Gang. I appreciate the hospitality extended by our hosts. Meeting. I stressed that direct engagement and sustained communication at senior levels is the best way to responsibly manage our differences and ensure that competition does not veer into conflict. And I heard the same from my Chinese counterparts. We both agree on the need to stabilize our relationship. During those meetings, we had a robust conversation about regional and global challenges. That includes Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. I reiterated that we would welcome China playing a constructive role, along with other nations, to work toward a just peace based on the principles of the United Nations Charter. We also spoke about North Korea's increasingly reckless actions and rhetoric. All members of the international community have an interest in encouraging the DPRK to act responsibly, to stop launching missiles, to start engaging on its nuclear program. China is in a unique position to press Pyongyang to engage in dialogue and to end its dangerous behavior. I raised U.S. concerns, shared by a growing number of countries, about the PRC's provocative actions in the Taiwan Strait, as well as in the South and East China Seas. On Taiwan, I reiterated the long-standing U.S. One China policy. That policy has not changed. It's guided by the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, the 6 assurances. We do not support Taiwan independence. We remain opposed to any unilateral changes to the status quo by either side. We continue to expect the peaceful resolution of cross-strait differences. We remain committed to meeting our responsibilities under the Taiwan Relations Act, including making sure that Taiwan has the ability to defend itself. We also spoke about a range of bilateral issues, including continuing to develop principles to guide our relationship, as discussed by President Biden and President Xi in Bali late last year. We exchanged views on our respective economic policies, including our concerns about China's unfair treatment of U.S. companies. During my meeting today with U.S. business leaders who are operating in China, I heard about the problems that U.S. businesses are facing, including recent punitive actions against American firms. I also heard that U.S. companies want to continue and indeed grow their businesses here. And so, in my meetings, I sought to clarify any misperceptions or misunderstandings about our approach. There is a profound difference for the United States and for many other countries between de-risking and decoupling. Our countries traded more over the last year, in fact, more than ever over the last year, nearly $700 billion. Healthy and robust economic engagement benefits both the United States and China. And as Secretary Yellen testified before Congress last week, it would be, as she put it, disastrous for us to decouple and stop all trade and investment with China. We are for de-risking and diversifying. That means investing in our own capacities and in secure, resilient supply chains, pushing for level playing fields for our workers and our companies, defending against harmful trade practices, and protecting our critical technologies so that they aren't used against us. I made clear that we'll continue to take targeted actions that are necessary to protect U.S. national security. In my meetings, I also discussed human rights. The United States and the international community remain deeply concerned about PRC human rights violations, including in Xinjiang, in Tibet, in Hong Kong. I also specifically raised wrongfully detained U.S. citizens and those facing exit bans. There is no higher priority for me than the safety and well-being of U.S. citizens overseas, and I'll continue to work intensively to secure their release and their safe return home. As we work to address our differences, the United States is prepared to cooperate with China in areas where we have mutual interests, including climate, macroeconomic stability, public health, food security, counter-narcotics. On food security, we believe China can play a key role in alleviating global food insecurity. I underscored the importance of supporting a long-term expansion of the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which has facilitated the export of almost 32 million tons of grain from Ukraine, with approximately 18 million tons going to developing countries. A long-term expansion is critical for avoiding food shortages in some of the poorest, most food insecure countries in the world, as well as price surges. I raised as a priority the issue of synthetic opioids and fentanyl, a crisis in the United States. Fentanyl is the #1 killer of Americans aged 18 to 49. We need much greater cooperation on this critical issue. We agreed to explore setting up a working group or effort so that we can shut off the flow of precursor chemicals, which help fuel this crisis and a growing number of deaths. Finally, we discussed the importance of strengthening people-to-people exchanges between students, scholars, business travelers. It benefits our citizens, our economies, and our relationship. Today, I had an opportunity to meet with an impressive group of alumni from those exchange programs. In my meetings, we discussed enhancing educational exchanges, and we committed to work to increase direct flights between our countries. Continue dialogue on these and other important issues visits by Chinese officials to the United States. To that end, I invited State Counselor and Foreign Minister Qin Gang to visit Washington, and he agreed to come at a mutually suitable time. A little later this evening, I leave for London to attend the Ukraine Recovery Conference, and I'll also have an opportunity there to brief allies and partners on this visit and to continue to strengthen our alignment. We have no illusions about the challenges of managing this relationship. There are many issues on which we profoundly, even vehemently, disagree. We will always take the best course of action to advance the interests of the American people. But the United States has a long history of successfully managing complicated, consequential relationships through diplomacy. It's the responsibility of both countries to find a path forward, and it's in both our interests and the interests of the world that we do so.
We'll take a few questions. The first question goes to Ian Marlowe with Bloomberg.
Thank you, Secretary. China's accused the U.S. of economic containment.
All right, we've just been listening to the Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He's about to take some questions from members of the media, which is probably where he's going to get a little bit of pushback. But as you all know, the Secretary has been spending the last couple of days meeting with various officials in China, including President Xi Jinping. I want to bring in CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer, who's been following the secretary's visit. Elizabeth, the Secretary of State saying that part of the reason for these meetings is to ensure that competition does not veer into conflict. And what we heard him sort of listing off was a series of areas where there is competition and where there is conflict, but also a series of areas where there is shared aligned interests.
Well, that's right. I mean, the bottom line is that China and the United States are giants. They are both very influential, and they are linked by billions and billions of dollars in trade. And so I think it was the Chinese foreign minister who said that relations had reached the lowest point since diplomatic relations were first established. That does nobody any good. And I think of particular concern to China's allies in China's the regional partners is that the United States and China had even stopped talking to each other military to military, in spite of the fact that they both using big weapons and ships and planes around Taiwan in close proximity. So in order to manage this relationship, in order to not have it, as you said, veer off into conflict, it's essential that there should be direct communication. And what we're seeing here is reestablishing that direct communication. The nitty-gritty of what needs to be hammered out, we'll get to that. But the great triumph of this is that Antony Blinken is in China. He had a state banquet. He spoke to the top officials. He spoke to Xi Jinping himself this afternoon, and the Chinese have been invited back to Washington. That means dialogue is back underway, and that's good news for everybody.
And so that's the win. I mean, in a way, we were sort of told that this is not about deliverables. This is about just keeping lines of communication open. I thought it was really interesting when he was sort of listing off the areas that they spoke about. China's role on the international stage when it comes to conflict, its influential role when it comes to the conflict in Ukraine, North Korea, and of course Taiwan. I suspect that this is also an area that China has been working to establish themselves as a country of influence around the world, and maybe even, whether it's sort of sincere or not, maybe a country that can be instrumental using diplomacy to bring some of these conflicts to an end, like the one in Ukraine.
Well, yes. I mean, Secretary Blinken gave a tip of the hat to China for its support of the Black Sea Grain Initiative. That was a compliment. Underlying that is probably a lot of hidden talk about China not supporting Russia. The U.S. would like China to tell Russia that it's out of line in Ukraine, that it invaded sovereign territory, and it should get out. So behind the scenes, I'm sure that pressure is there. China does want to be seen as a big international force for reconciliation, for peacemaking, because that would make it look good. It lends a lot of money to developing countries in order to gain influence there. And so the task will be to have China join, if you like, the good actors and be a net force for good in the world. We'll see how that goes.
Right.
But certainly, as I said again, just to be able to talk about it and to be able to present diplomatic cases to the Chinese for how they might be better, more constructive members of the international community, that's key.
Yeah, I will remind everyone, Liz, that this is a meeting that was postponed because of the discovery of those Chinese spy balloons, and it could have been completely derailed, taken off the schedule. So I think the fact that they chose to reschedule is an indication that there is at least a commitment to pursuing diplomacy, even as tensions continue to make things uncomfortable. Elizabeth, thank you very much.